The Amber Alert Podcast.
Welcome, Amber Alert Podcast, episode 92, part 1. I am your host, Amber Starkey, and it is a great day to be alive. I barely got this started at 7:15 on the nose. I am a type A person, and I cannot stand to start even a minute late. It upsets me. If you say you're going to be somewhere at a certain time, then be there. If you say you're going to do something, then just do it, is the way I feel. So if I'm a minute late, I don't like that. So I am doing for tonight what I did last episode. I started doing this year because I felt like, because I get so long-winded that I felt it would be better to break, since my episodes have 3 parts. Okay, you have the news and politics in the beginning, you have your conspiracy theory or supernatural phenomena or whatever in the middle, and then we have the Bible at the end. So I thought it best to break it into 3 parts. That way there are shorter videos. So if you don't like politics or news, but you do like to hear about government cover-ups or supernatural things that are happening, or maybe you don't like either of those, but you are interested in the Bible, whatever, you can tune into whatever you like. If you hate all of it, God bless you. That's okay. But so that's what I'm going to do. So part 1, this will be news and politics. And then I'm going to end this live stream. Okay. And then I'm going to have maybe a 10-minute break. And then I'm going to start a new live stream, which is going to be part 2 of this same episode. It'll go back on the same platforms. It'll be X, it'll be Rumble, and it'll be Instagram. I stopped going live on YouTube because they're communist. And I have strikes on my account, so there's essentially 0 visibility anyway. So I will still upload to YouTube. If they take them down, they take them down. They'd probably let me do what I want if I just worshiped Satan and became gay or something, but I'm not going to do those things. So YouTube is whatever. So I'll come back on after I end this first portion, after maybe a 10-minute break, and then I'll end that one. And then I'll start the 3rd part after another 10-minute break or so. So it will be 3 separate videos, all of which will be live. I do that because I hate editing video. I also hate having to upload and post things. And if I go live on at least a few platforms, then it saves me the trouble and the time of having to upload everything and to edit, which I don't like to do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into what is going on in the news. This should be definitely shorter than last episode. Not that there aren't important things going on, but I just tried to eliminate the things that I didn't really feel like talking about. So, and again, some of this isn't necessarily news. It's not like it's breaking or, oh my goodness, this is going on right now, this just happened, or it just happened in the past couple of days. But if I see something that I think is worth talking about, I will throw it in. So with that being said, this first thing isn't necessarily news, but it's interesting because I've talked about this. So this person's name is Sandeep, which is no surprise. A former Hindu from India's Brahmin caste warns that all yoga poses are acts of Shiva worship, and there's no such thing as holy or Christian yoga. I've been saying this. Having practiced yoga since childhood and studied Hindu scriptures, Sandeep came to Christianity after reading the Bible and experiencing God's revelation. Praise God. After converting, he faced material loss and persecution, eventually moving to the U.S. Today, he cautions Christians about the spiritual dangers of yoga and Hinduism. And again, I've said this, why I go to the gym, I lift weights, I don't do yoga. One time I took a yoga class, and it's because I didn't know. I didn't know then what I know now. And the funny thing is it was at Liberty University, which is where I went at the time, which is the largest Christian school like in the world, or at least it was. I think it still is. And they had yoga classes, and they probably still do, because people don't know this. They think you can brand it Christian yoga, and it's branded as exercise. Pretty much every gym, if it's big enough, they have yoga classes. And so, it's just about stretching. It's just It's just exercise. It's just good for your body. And what they don't know, and many even yoga instructors don't know it, that all of yoga is in fact, it's everything you do, the way you move, even words that are said and things like that, is to open you up to these Hindu spirits. So there's no such thing as Christian yoga. It has an occult foundation to it, regardless of what kind of label you want to give it. And I've read people's testimonies too, where some of which were instructors, some of which were just people who did yoga, and they said they had no idea until after they stopped doing it, and they're like, I was oppressed by something and I didn't know it at the time, but I can definitely tell you now that I've gotten free from it. So just a word of caution: if you're doing yoga, I understand you probably aren't aware of the underpinnings there, because most people aren't, but it's okay to stretch. It's good to work out. It's good to exercise your body. It's good to stretch. Yoga is just a thing all its own, which is just the occult dressed up as exercise, unfortunately. All right, next. Scott Adams has passed away. This is several days old now, but I wanted to comment on it. In his final days, he boldly proclaimed Jesus Christ as his savior. He was a true warrior for the American people. Rest easy, Scott. You will be missed. Please pray for his family. Okay, so if you don't really know who Scott Adams is, he was the creator of Dilbert, which was like comic or political cartoons, something like that. And he, if I remember correctly, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but if I remember correctly, he was a classic liberal. And it was in 2020, with all of the suspect things going on during COVID, that woke him up. And he was like, this, something about this is very strange. This isn't right. None of this even makes sense. And COVID really woke him up. And he had the balls, God bless him, to turn on everything that he once believed and come out publicly as a Trump supporter. And he took a beating for it. I mean, all his friends turned on him. He got the people who once loved him ridiculed him. He suffered, in many ways, just for simply that political shift in his life. And I'm pretty sure even after that, he was, I think, if I remember correctly, he was an atheist and maybe even kind of mocked Christianity, which many atheists do. And so it wasn't until the very end, as he had cancer, and as he was supposed to die in June of last year, and he toughed it out until just like this week. And he said that he was thinking about, he's like, I've weighed the consequences, and on paper, it just makes sense to convert to Christianity. So, a lot of people were like, well, that's not how it works. Someone please explain to him. And I was like, I, among many people, were praying for him. I was just one of many. I saw tons of people who had been praying for him much longer than I had been. And the fact that he was even talking that way, I thought, please, I hope people aren't flooding him with comments to discourage him. Yes, he may need some clarification, and God willing, there will be someone or something he can read or listen to that will give him some better understanding, because he's brand new to it. But please don't discourage him. And then sure enough, people did. And he's like, all right, you guys almost talked me out of it. I was like, great. But he made a statement that was released like the day he died, and he literally wrote out word for word, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I was like, hey. So then, of course, in the aftermath of all this, you have a bunch of Christian warriors on X writing these long, just complete a dissertation of why they don't think he got saved, because he didn't actually believe in his heart, and blah, 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 blah. It's interesting how many of those people are in possession of the Lamb's Book of Life. You don't know someone's heart. You don't know what they said, what happened in the final moments on their deathbed either. Yes, we have some understanding based on what he said publicly, but at the same time, that's a secret thing between a person and God himself. And so for people to be, trying to just analyze it and be critical, why do you have to say anything? You can hope that all went well. You can hope he understood what he was doing. Why do you have to publicly tear down the potential that he actually did get born again before he died. Why do you have to say anything is what I don't understand. And just, you know, what is the word, like dissect his comments and try to, you know, well, we just don't really know if he believed or not. And you have to believe. Yeah, no kidding, you have to believe. But he also wrote it out word for word that he accepts. And, you know, and here's the thing, for every person like that, what is you have an example in the Bible, okay? You have the thief on the cross. And what did he do? Next to nothing. He did next to nothing. All he said was, he rebuked the other criminal hanging on a cross who was making fun of Jesus. And he's like, I don't know why you're not like afraid. And he said, you know, we deserve what we're getting, but he's done nothing wrong. And he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom, which if you're going to make that kind of statement, then that suggests you believe this is actually the king of the world. Because you know, you're going to come into your kingdom. I'm asking you to remember me. So all the thief on the cross did was believe that Jesus was who he claimed to be. And then what did Jesus say? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would love for you to be born again and make it to heaven. But seeing that you're going to die on this cross here in a couple of days, you don't have time to get down off of the cross and get baptized in water. You don't have time to go plug into a local church. You don't have time to make a public declaration in front of a group of people. So I would really love to accept you, but you know, you're not able to do any of these things because you're going to die before you get to. No, there was none of that. Jesus looked at him and said, today you'll be with me in paradise. And it was because that guy believed, and then something came out of his mouth that communicated, I believe that you are who you say you are. And that was it. So I'm not encouraging people, you know, to not get baptized in water. You should. There should be a public declaration. And there are all kinds of things that if you have the chance, if you don't accept Christ on your deathbed and you have a life to live, then there are all kinds of things that you should do as a Christian that, yes, will absolutely show people on the outside, I am born again. I believe Jesus is the Son of God. I've accepted him. And that's why I'm doing X, Y, and Z, because the Bible tells me to. But there's very little that's required of people to get born again and be acceptable in the eyes of God. And so the Bible makes it simple, but religion makes it complex. And that's why it was just disheartening to see the number of people, you know, just kind of taking the joy out of a situation that so many people had prayed for Scott Adams for years. He finally makes a statement, and then here come a bunch of Christians to try to like say it's not what it is. Whatever. Next. New! Mattel has introduced the first ever autistic Barbie doll, which features flexible joints for hand flapping. Okay. The company said the project took them over 18 months to complete. The Barbie comes with a fidget spinner, noise-canceling headphones, flat shoes, a flowy skirt for less fabric-to-skin contact, and a communication tablet to reflect various autistic experiences. Okay. Here's why this bothers me. I have nothing against autistic kids, obviously. God bless every kid, whether you're autistic or not. What bothers me is that there's this push to accept what is less than what God would have for people. It's the same with that. To me is like a commercial for like having a disease. You know how the people are always like, you know, you're going to die from whatever this disease is. And then you can take this medicine, which will give you 14 more side effects, and you might lose a limb or so, but at least, you know, it's going to help your itchy skin or whatever, you know, something so stupid. So there's like this push, and I know America has it. I don't know that other countries have it. In fact, I don't think other countries are allowed to play these medicine commercials like America is. So I wish we'd ban them. I think RFK Jr. may have talked about that. That'd be a good thing, because what it is, you know, sickness and disease and disabilities really of any kind is evil. I'm not saying the people with them are evil. I'm saying the origin of such a thing that came on people and into their lives is evil. It's of the devil. God didn't create cancer. God didn't create people to be crippled. God wants you to have an abundant life with no limitations, no disabilities, no sickness or disease, which is why Jesus came and healed the sick everywhere he went. There's not a single person that he refused to heal. And what did he say? I came to do the will of my Father. Therefore, healing the sick is God's will. Therefore, sickness is not God's will. So anyone that would try to push somebody into accepting a sickness, disease, or in this case, a disability or a limitation of any kind, that's evil, because Jesus didn't ever do that. He never said, I'm sorry that you can't walk. Maybe I can just encourage you because this is your life. In heaven, it won't be this way, but just accept it. No, there was never that. Every person who approached him and wanting to be healed, he healed them. So I don't like the fact that they made a Barbie to get people to celebrate something that God wouldn't want any kid to have to live with. It's a limitation of some kind, and that's not good, and I know it's a burden to some parents. God bless them for doing what they do to I know it's a spectrum. There are varying degrees of it, but I don't like that. That's evil. That little just accept it. This is just, we're going to normalize it. We're going to normalize that people are going to be sick, people are going to die, people are going to have disabilities. We just want you to accept it. Who are you, Satan? No, we don't accept that. Anyway, next. New Florida gubernatorial. What is that word? I feel like I should know it, but I have no idea. This candidate, James Fishback, proposes an OnlyFans sin tax of 50% for OnlyFans creators in Florida, says the money will be used to fund the education system. As Florida governor in year one, I will push for the first of its kind OnlyFans sin tax. Is this person running against Byron Donalds? Is this the person that Tucker Carlson went and endorsed after Trump already endorsed Byron Donalds? I feel like that's who this is, but I don't know. I like Byron Donalds. Anyway, if you are a so-called OnlyFans creator in Florida, you're going to pay 50% to the state on whatever you so-called earn via that outline degeneracy platform online. Sorry. We will raise hundreds of millions of dollars of income on the OnlyFans sin tax. And if we don't raise that income, you know what it'll mean? It'll mean something even greater has materialized for the young women and young men of our state. Okay. I think I'm not going to say I don't like it. I do. But at the same time, why don't you, if you're going to tax them for sin, why don't you just outlaw OnlyFans in Florida and get rid of the sin altogether? Instead of taxing it and getting money from it, you could just nuke the whole thing, which I would be in support of. God forbid you're a girl and you have to actually go get a job. Yeah. What if you had to do that? That's a cancer. The whole porn, all of that, that's a cancer. And it needs to go. And then the funny thing about OnlyFans is you have a bunch of girls that are like, I'm not a hooker. You are, though. Just because you're not doing anything physical doesn't mean you're not selling yourself in the same way a hooker sells herself. So you are a digital hooker, which is, I would love to see the whole thing be made illegal. But I do think that's funny. A sin tax is hilarious. Next. New Peter Doocy shows footage of himself being hit by an active denial system similar to what was allegedly used during Maduro's capture. Now, hold on a second. I don't even need to read the rest of this because I'm going to show you a quick video. There's a guy I follow. I listen to him every day. The man is a prophet and he doesn't miss. His name is Joseph Z. I have tremendous respect for him. I want you to see this video because you'll just see this is how prophecy works. And it's always, especially if you follow someone or listen to them for any amount of time, these things, it's always interesting to see what comes out absolutely crazy until enough time goes by and then you're like, oh, so there's actually something to that. So let me play this video in the context of what Peter Doocy said there about some weapon hitting him, because it's going to show the video plus a little bit. I don't know why we're having so much trouble trying to share this. Okay. Can I get sound? Can I get sound, Instagram? Oh, sorry.
Would come about a dominating warfare tech that we have, a military might that is being concealed right now. There's something I feel about this. It's either Trump, it's the administration, it's something that's been developed or being developed right now. But I'm telling you, there is a hidden tech of might that involves dominance in battle that we have. Whether it's revealed or not revealed, I feel it. I sense it. I look at this. I'm praying and I begin to get these impressions. And when I see these things, many times then it plays out. I believe that there's a hidden tech that's going to come out if we get pulled into war, space and land. And I think it's going to shake the landscape.
It has been over a week since the U.S. captured Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. American forces bombed Caracas and then raided the military complex where Maduro and his wife were staying. Venezuela says that at least 100 people were killed by the American forces as they were abducting Maduro. However, not one American soldier was killed as per what U.S. claims. How did the U.S. pull off such a raid? New reports say that they may have used a secret weapon to put Maduro's guards completely out of action.
One of the survivors, however, has given an eyewitness account of the raid. He said that they were completely outmatched by the American soldiers, and one part of his testimony stood out. He claimed that the U.S. military used a powerful weapon which brought the guards to their knees. The survivor recounted that many of the guards started bleeding through the nose, and some even vomited blood. He felt as though his head was exploding from the inside. So, does this mean that the U.S. now has sonic or ultrasonic weapons?
Probably.
It sounds a lot like something this reporter got hit with at Quantico in this piece from 2013.
The military says the active denial system is not radioactive, it's not a microwave, and it's not a laser beam. It's instead a man-sized beam of millimeter waves that can be fired from up to 1,000 meters away that are designed to get the subject, whoever's standing on this X, really, really hot so that they move. And it's about 50 degrees out here right now, but I just felt like it was about 1,000. And I've never been inside a tub that somebody dropped a hairdryer in, but I would imagine that that's what it feels like.
I saw a point where we got pulled.
So interesting. He prophesied that December 17th, and then not even a month later, that comes out in the news, which I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than just that. I'm sure we have other tech. It seems like we're always 10 years behind. We find out about stuff 10 years after the government's already like developed it and been using it. But I do think many of the UFOs that people see, I don't think all of them are, but I think many of them are probably what our government does have. They've been back engineered. They somehow, I'm gonna have to turn that off. There's like these agencies, whatever they are, they seem to have no oversight. Congress doesn't know what they're doing. Congress can't get answers. Even the president's on like a need to know basis. And so they have things that are not, and half the time, obviously we're uncovering all of this fraud, and then Doge exposed more too and stuff. But it's like half the time you got to wonder where all the money's going, because they've been robbing us forever. Right? There's no such thing as government funded. It's all taxpayer funded. So where's all the money going? Well, part of it's probably going to these underground secret black sites where they're developing high tech that the rest of us don't know about. And then, it'll probably eventually get used if it's not already being used. Like this just happened. Also too, like even the stuff they've developed that they say they don't use, like the weapons that, and this is older now, like it's not even new now, the weapons that would emit a certain frequency that would basically demoralize and wear down the enemy and make them feel like giving up. I think they may have done that in Vietnam. They have the tech to do that. And again, it's old now. But they, you know, all that stuff that never goes mainstream, but it is around. And so I just found that interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's more to come, more hidden things that are going to come to light. I think this will be a year. It started last year. I think this is going to be a year of a lot of exposure. And I think we're going to finally get some justice. Many of these people who've been somehow evading being held accountable, we're going to finally start to see justice. And if we do, it's probably going to go well for conservatives in the midterms, because, you know, a lot of people do actually want justice, not the left, but normal people want justice. Next. Tucker, who's basically a jihadist now. He said, I'm not even sure Hamas is a radical jihadist organization. It sounds like something a jihadist would say. It seems more like a political organization to me. Senior Hamas official, whatever your name is, I don't even want to try. It's ugly. Earth will come under a system where there is no injustice, no oppression, no Zionism, no treacherous Christianity. So those are great people to find yourself in bed with there, Tucker Carlson. You freaking sellout. You absolute lunatic. I want him to go away. Like, I actually, you know, he said he's buying a place in Qatar. I don't know if he has already. I hope he goes there and he gets citizenship there, and we remove his citizenship here, and he never comes back to the United States, which he's still going to be all over the internet, because when Iran was shut down just a few days ago, the only thing that was showing on their state TV was none other than Tucker Carlson. So you can't tell me he's not just a talking head for radical Islam. Why is that? It's either a lot of money or there's some blackmail or threats mixed in, but I'm guessing it's just money and he's just bought and paid for. Freaking word, I wish I could say. Next. Breaking, a $1.2 billion New York healthcare fraud scandal has been uncovered. Wow, 10 times larger than the Minnesota case, according to a report by Fox News' Sean Hannity. I think it was Elon Musk who said, "You think Minnesota's bad? Wait till they start looking at California and New York." So here we go. This is what I'm saying: exposure and, God willing, justice. Because we've known about this stuff forever. Voter fraud's only a fraction of it. There's, you know, pretty much every kind of corruption in these places. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this year. I think we're going to see some justice done. Next. From Eric Metaxas, he said, imagine thinking it's adult to be shrieking like this. Or how about the chick beating the drum? Oh my gosh, some white liberal chick showed up with a drum in Minnesota. I'm not even surprised. If you live your life apart from God and reality, you unravel. They could not be more lost. Do they have husbands and children? I'm guessing no, because they're most likely lesbians, and lesbians can't procreate together. And there's no way they're married, because even if they liked dudes, no man would be able to be around them. Do I have the video for this? Because you're going to see some absolute lunatics. If I can find the video. It's not that. It might be this one. It is a mess to be in Minnesota right now. Those people are completely unraveling. Which it's not like ever. I don't think Minnesota was ever like a nice place to be, but it's like definitely the one place you don't want to be in the United States right now. Is this the video? I would like to play it. Please, X. Take your time. It's not like this is live or anything. Okay. This is the video. It's just taking an hour and a half. Look at this. Why is it always white liberal women, man? Okay. Do you know how insane and unhinged you have to be to go show up and do something like that? Somebody brought a drum and is beating on a drum, standing next to what looks like a lesbian partner, screaming, "You want to shoot me in the face?" Why are you trying to get shot? The funny thing is, these people are so out of touch that I think they would actually be willing to die if they thought it would like lead to ICE being abolished. They don't care about the immigrants. They don't even know why they support what they do. That's why I say it has to be a demonic hive mind. Like it has to be, because it doesn't even make sense. They all just they regurgitate these like leftist talking points that are on MSNBC. You know, why are you pro-Palestine? Well, because Israel, you know, what they're doing is just awful. Do you even know like what's actually going on or what started? Do you know what happened on October 7th that started the whole conflict? No, just Israel, you know, it's the worst and we need to free Palestine. Like they don't even know why. They don't even know why. I don't understand. It's so mind-blowing. ICE is doing what ICE has always done. The reason you're having to see so much activity from ICE is because all of you retards voted for an administration that had a wide open border and the floodgates opened up and a bunch of criminals came in, a bunch of murderers, a bunch of rapists, child molesters, people that are stealing your hard-earned money, mind you, and that's why ICE is all over the place, because you voted for that, and that's what that administration did, and now we have to clean the place up, and you're literally upset that ICE is removing people who are here illegally, and even if they didn't commit any other crimes, there's still the lawful thing to do is send them back where they came from. And then the fact that people are comparing this to the Gestapo. Look, it's Nazi Germany with the Gestapo. Do you understand there are some very big differences? What did Nazi Germany do? They went after one group of people with the intent to exterminate an entire group of people, okay? That's not what ICE is doing. ICE isn't rounding up people of one kind to kill them all. They're literally finding out you're here illegally, and then they're sending you back where you came from. They're not at all the same thing. I can't understand the outrage over it. And here's the thing, and this is unfortunate because I can see this is probably going to happen. For those of you who've ever seen the Reacher movies with Tom Cruise, in the first one, it starts off with someone in the military shot somebody and they thought that it was murder, right? And Tom Cruise, obviously this is a movie, but I'm going to make a point. In the movie, he said there are 4 reasons that people join the military. 1, you're just an outright patriot. You love the country. You want to serve it. 2, you come from a line of men in your family who all served. And so that's just what you're going to do to follow in the footsteps of your fathers. 3, you just need a job, and it was a job. And 4, you have the psychopaths who want a legal license to kill someone. So that being, again, that's a movie, but that being said, with what they're doing to ICE, what these protesters are doing to ICE, I would not be surprised why they're having to hire more. But 2 is I wouldn't be surprised. You're going to end up, I know they do background checks before they hire them, but you're going to end up with some lunatics probably who are going to see an opportunity to potentially shoot someone or at least beat somebody up. And they're like, I'll be an ICE agent if it means I get to do that. So then you're going to have problems because there are bad eggs in every basket or apples. You're eventually going to run into that. That's why there are some cops that are like that, plenty of good ones, some bad ones. It's a thing. So that's a shame because then that's going to only fuel outrage even more. But it's just the fact that people would take their time, their effort, go scream at federal, enforcement officers who are doing their job, which is a lawful thing to do. I'm not doing anything I would understand you protesting if they were in fact doing what Gestapo did. Let's round up everybody from one place and kill them. Then yes, you should be up in arms in the streets, but that's not what's happening. I think people are under the influence of a spirit of lawlessness. That's the only thing that can explain it, because it's unnatural how they're acting. And it's like a demonic hive mind. It has to be. It has to be, because you don't act like that without that being the case. It's unhinged. All right. Is this what I just read? Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So we got a leftist student arrested for saying he would kirk a GOP group at University of Utah. A 21-year-old goes by any pronouns. So Libs of TikTok said this is reportedly the student who was arrested for threatening to kill conservatives on campus, a they, them, trans activist every time. Yes, because you need deliverance. And instead of getting help, you are encouraged to be the way you are. And then that's why you turn into an even bigger psychopath and you become a murderous psychopath, because you're not getting the help that you need. So the trans thing, thankfully, it is dying out. And I don't mean like people are dying. I mean the trend. I mean, some of them are dying because they're choosing to shoot up schools and then take their own lives or get killed once first responders get on the scene. But I mean the whole the going thing, to be trans, it's so exciting. We just want to encourage everyone to be trans. Even if you're straight, we're going to try to talk you into being trans. That's like dying out, because everyone's like, you know what, this is insane. It's also just gay. Let's stop this insanity. Next. All right, this was taken in front of the Supreme Court rally for women's rights. The counter protesters are actually satanic worshipers. So in case you had any doubts, the radical transgender movement is a satanic cult bent on the mutilation of children. Yeah, so there's a trans flag with a pentagram in it, obviously a satanic or a cult symbol. No surprise, because where you see the same behavior, you see the same spirit. Abortion is no more than child sacrifice. You could trace it all the way back to what we know was going on in the Bible with the Moloch sacrifices of babies, and then the whole transgender mutilation stuff has probably got a spirit all its own. So that's no surprise. Next. Breaking. President Trump is ending the temporary protection status for thousands of Somalis, requiring them to leave the country by March 17th. Massive win, get them all. That's what I was saying, is you're going to have to deport them all. They wanted to come here and come up with these elaborate fraud schemes, and then have the audacity to be arrogant about it and run their mouths to Trump. All that did was put a giant spotlight on them. And now Trump's like, oh, yeah? Oh, I see what you guys have been doing. You can all leave then. So that really, if you're stealing that much money and it's been working for years, the last thing that you'd want to do is draw attention to yourself. So all of the Somalis should actually hate Ilhan Omar, because it's largely her fault that all of this got uncovered. She wouldn't stop running her mouth. She was openly attacking Trump. And then now we have found out, thanks to Nick Shirley and some other people, found out a whole bunch of stuff that they were doing. Actually, one thing before I go to the next thing, one of the things they uncovered is when a Somalian would go to, it was like something like the DMV or the BMV, like just to get an ID or something like that. They would like suddenly be unable to speak English. So they would have to have a translator, and the translator was billing the government. It was like $100 an hour with a minimum of 8 hours of translation or something. So another scheme they had going, they could speak English, but it was just this way of, in their community, fraud here, fraud there, we all benefit from it. Got to give them props for working together so well. But so it's beyond daycares and stuff like that. That was just one of the things that's been uncovered. So I'm sure it's I'm sure it's much worse than we even know yet. And another thing Joseph Z was saying, I was listening to him, is he thinks that Tim Walz has direct ties to the CCP and that's going to come out too. So I think he's probably done for and good riddance. Next. Watch, Trump supporter fist fights anti-ICE protester. This is actually hilarious. I don't know if there's any music that'll get me kicked off of YouTube, but I'm actually not even on YouTube yet, so it's whatever. This is great. This is why a civil war between the right and the left would last.
Hey guys.
Hilarious. The guy in the red coat was like, listen, I'm gonna take care of this. Got knocked out immediately. You know, the left is primarily composed of trans people on all kinds of meds out of their minds. You've got men riddled with AIDS and wasting away as we speak. You have 14-year-old girls. Okay. And then you have your biggest threat is going to be large-sized lesbians, just because they can probably hold their own for a time. They take a swing, they're probably going to swing hard. They're probably going to get winded pretty fast. But I bet they can hit hard at least once. So that's going to be your biggest concern should it ever come to a physical fight. God forbid it does. I'm just saying. The big lesbians would probably be like the militia on the front lines. Next. Must watch Epstein's underground laboratories and secret experiments exposed by abuse survivor Juliet Bryant, who was victim of mysterious procedure while under anesthesia. These bastards are doing human clothing in their underground labs. I woke up naked, paralyzed, strapped on a table, and I couldn't speak. You realize they were taking eggs. All right, I know who Juliet Bryant is. She is the same one who said she saw, for lack of a better word, she saw Jeffrey Epstein shapeshift in front of her eyes. He went from looking the way he does to looking like something else, not human, something evil. I forget what words she used, but it's interesting. Lying on a table like that with them taking eggs is 100% the exact same thing that everybody reports who's taken by aliens. They end up on a metal table, sperm is taken, ovum is taken, many times they're obviously violated throughout that whole thing. And then the many women that are taken are find themselves pregnant. And then in the third month, they get taken again. And somehow the fetus is gone. And the pregnancy was already confirmed by their doctor. They go to the hospital, figure out what's going on. And they're like, we can't even tell you were ever pregnant. Are you sure that you were? And they're like, yes, it was confirmed by my doctor. So again, to trace it back to Genesis 6, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, had a sexual relationship, the offspring, the outcome of that perversion was something non-human, a hybrid being, if you will. As weird as that sounds, I don't know how else to explain it. That's when the Nephilim show up. Giants, long necks, they had different names, different groups of them. And then right after that, what happens? God floods the earth. So, do you think the devil, and the Bible says word for word, they were on the earth in those days and also afterward, which means the breeding program that happened before that led up to the flood happened again after the flood. So do you think Satan just decided to abandon his evil breeding program? Again, Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be in the coming of the Son of Man. So we're going to see the same behavior, the same things going on that we saw in the days of Noah. So it stands to reason that happened in the days of Noah. Why are people being abducted? Why are they messing with reproductive organs? So same behavior, same spirit, same agenda of the fallen one, which has never changed. Jeffrey Epstein, knowing what we know about him, likely demon possessed, absolutely, and probably in the upper echelon of Satanists, I would guess. So who knows what kind of spirits he was. I don't even know what the word would be. Not even just possessed by, but like consulting with and even working alongside. I would guess, Satan can't get anything done on the earth unless he gets a person to cooperate. He can't do anything without, the same way God needs us to get things done on the earth. We're the barrier there. It gets accomplished through mankind. Satan understands that as well. He's got to get a person to do his work. So there you go, Jeffrey Epstein. There you go, all the other people who are probably handlers, like Karen Wilkin talks about, who was taken from the time she was a child, that she had a handler that was not human. It could appear human, but again, Satan masquerades as an angel of light. He's a deceiver. He can appear one way and be something else entirely. And again, naturally, there's a component to spiritual beings that becomes physical. Because of Genesis 6, we know that reproduction is possible. You read further on in Genesis when the men showed up to Abraham and he gave them a meal, and then they go to get Lot. And then what happens? The men of the city surround the house and they're like, bring those guys out. And Lot's like, don't do this. And they wanted to have sex with them. So clearly there is a physical component when something spiritual or divine takes physical form. And there's obviously corruption and perversion of God's intended order when that happens. Because what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? Yeah. Look what happened right after the Genesis 6 account. Here comes the flood. God has no tolerance for such a thing. So this whole thing with Epstein, what she said, the whole thing with the abductions just got the fingerprints of Satan all over it. He just hasn't changed. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure things are just repackaged a little bit now, and he's got, as our technology has progressed, different ways of going about it. Next. Video. Crazed leftists are now showing up with their babies in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in hopes that when agitators attack the police, their children will be hurt so they can play victim and trigger John Podesta's long-planned Civil War 2.0. How evil can you be? You don't even care about your kid. You're literally willing to put your own child in harm's way in an attempt to make ICE look bad so that you can protect people who would probably rape your baby given the chance. These people are all the people who are like trying to protect the murderers and rapists and stuff are almost worse than the murderers and the rapists, because like, you should know better. You're willing to put your kid on the line to protect somebody like that. I don't get it. A U.S. official says moves to bring Greenland under U.S. control could unfold within weeks or months. I don't know what this whole Greenland thing is about. Obviously, they've got a ton of natural resources and I believe rare earth minerals. Greenland's loaded, but I'm not sure why suddenly, they've been under the control of Denmark. I'm not sure suddenly why, Trump is saying if we don't take it, Russia's moving in, China's moving in, and I'm not about to have them as a neighbor over here. I wonder if the race of AI has something to do with this. Obviously, AI requires energy and things like that. You need resources to run it. It's not just like a cloud in the sky. There's like real stuff that goes into it. So I wonder if part of it, everybody's racing to be first with AI and implementing that into military weapons, which we're already doing with Grok, based on what Pete Hegseth said. So I wonder if Greenland has something to do with that, with AI being, what everybody's trying to get jostled and get into first place for. But I don't know. There might be more to it than that. It just seems strange because unless I just wasn't aware of it, I don't remember ever hearing of anyone having interest in Greenland. I thought it was just like a place no one really cared about and no one lives there. I think there's like barely civilization if you compare it obviously to like other countries. Next. U.S. billionaires, including Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, and Jeff Bezos, have already established a presence in Greenland, pouring money into... Here we go. I didn't even know this was in here. Okay, so pouring money into AI-powered rare earth drilling and advancing plans for a so-called Freedom City. So I bet it's about AI more than anything else. Because if you got those people who are the tech billionaires messing with Greenland for AI purposes, that's probably largely what it's about. So I hope we get Greenland. I think we will. I would obviously much rather us have it than China or Russia. So I just hope it happens peacefully. I think the people of Greenland probably want that to happen. It's Denmark you got to deal with. But I think it would be mutually beneficial. We would take care of them, I'm sure. And America would be a blessing to Greenland if we acquire them. So I hope we do. Next. From Cernovich, just because the mullahs in Iran losing power would be good for Israel doesn't mean it wouldn't be great for the Iranian people as well. Please don't let Israel break your brain. IDS turns people into morons the same as Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, take a look at Candace Owens, how she has completely unraveled. And all she thinks about is Israel all the time. And oh my gosh, it's the Israelis and it's Israel and that's Israel. And I can't think of anything but Israel. It's the beginning. It's that dishonor and that cursing of Israel that is the beginning of your mental decline. Look at what happened to Kanye West. It's happening to Candace. Tucker's on his way. MTG. It's like, it's the beginning of your undoing because God meant it when he said you dishonor them, take a curse, or you can bless them and be blessed. And so the people who choose to curse and dishonor, you can start to see the evidence in their lives. If you don't like it, you can take it up with God. Next. Smart meters, smart cars, smartphones, smart cities, smart homes. The word smart refers to self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology. A smart illusion of safety and convenience, but actually it's about tricking us into digital control and surveillance. Yeah. Everything that's designed to be convenient is actually so that they can monitor and eventually, mark of the beast, everybody, set up the Antichrist system. Speaking of technology, though, I want to skim through this real quick. So this is some of the insane reveals from the world's biggest tech event, CES 2026. I just want to look at it. So that's a bot, Realbotix humanoid robot. It's a lifelike humanoid capable of recognizing emotions through cues, voice, tone, and context, which is what AI already tries to do because you can talk like to ChatGPT or whatever, and they try to give it like human inflection in its voice, and they try to have it like match your energy. So they're already doing that, but that's unsettling. That reminds me of like the Stepford Wives. If you've ever seen that movie, it's uncomfortable. Eye polish smart nails. So they are press-on nails that instantly change colors digitally, switching hundreds of shades. That's actually kind of cool. I don't hate that. Lenovo rollable laptop. So it's a rollable display gaming laptop that expands vertically. That's cool. Offering screen space on demand. I bet you there are nerds already lined up to buy that if they haven't already. No offense if you like video games. Roborock stair climbing vacuum. I would buy this. So it has legs and it'll allow it to climb stairs while cleaning floors. I want this. I have a little iRobot it doesn't quite do the job that I wanted it to do. So I haven't actually used it in a while. I would actually pay money to have a robot clean my house because I want my house to be so clean it looks like no one lives in it. And so if I could have a robot, they would do it for me. I would just make sure that it's small enough. First of all, I would beat it into submission if I had to. And then I would just make sure it's small enough that like if it ever tried to kill me, I could like take off its head with a ball bat or something. Because I'm not about to have you like come to life in my house and attack me. Nope. Next. Fujifilm retro camera. So it has camera film simulations recreating photographic styles from 1930 through 2020. I bet my niece would love that. She's like a photographer. That's cool. Boston Dynamics Atlas, interesting name. So it's a humanoid Atlas robot demonstrating advanced agility by performing a backflip live. I've seen that video. See, this is too big. You made this human sized, which tells me if it decides to try to fight people, it's got a shot. You need to make them smaller. You just need to. Otherwise, people are going to kill them. Amazon Zoox Robotaxi. That's adorable. So it's a fully autonomous robotaxi designed for urban transport without steering wheels or controls. If you send that thing into Philadelphia, it's going to get raped and robbed. So you better be careful where you send it. Tiny AI Pocket Lab. It's a pocket-sized supercomputer capable of running AI models locally. Okay. AI Keyboard PC from HP. It's a full AI-powered PC built entirely into a slim, lightweight keyboard design. I don't care for that. Zeroth companion robot. Are you freaking kidding me? So it's a Wall-E inspired companion robot designed for interaction, entertainment, and home assistance. That's not a good idea. You're going to have people falling in love with it because they're already doing that with inanimate objects. And so definitely if it can talk and move, people are going to get weird. So anyway, those are some things that came out in tech that I thought were interesting. Some of them a little bit unsettling, but it's also 2026. What are you going to do? We kind of knew with AI coming on the scene, this stuff was around the corner. Next, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's doing a great job, if I do say so myself, has officially announced that mercury is removed from all vaccines. Somewhere Bill Gates is hitting his head against a padded wall. Now that America has removed mercury from all vaccines, I call on every global health authority to do the same. God bless you, RFK Jr. Why in the world did any evil person ever put mercury in vaccines to begin with? The fact that had to be removed and we had to celebrate is insane. Next. In a leaked video, Klaus Schwab promises New World Economic Forum recruits that their avatar will live on after death and that their brains will be replicated through artificial intelligence and algorithms. No thanks. That is like, what is it called when you like abuse a dead body? There's like a word for it. There's like a term. That's exactly what that is. You know what's funny though, is on a scientific level, to say nothing of AI, that actually after you die, there's like activity in your body that goes on for a little while. Some things take days to stop working in your body, which I just find crazy. Obviously, brain activity is one of the first things that stops, but there are some processes in your body that like keep working after you're dead. It's kind of makes me uncomfortable, but I don't know. I just found it interesting. I did a short little study on it. I'm not going to share more because it's kind of gross. Next. I already read that. Didn't I? Yes, I just read that. I wonder if that's old because Klaus Schwab, I thought was like, he had like stepped down. I don't know what he's doing these days. Probably up to no good, but I don't know that he's like making appearances for the World Economic Forum anymore. So I don't know when that's from. Next. Republicans are advancing a bill in the Senate to allow denaturalization and deportation of legal immigrants who commit fraud. So basically all of the Somalians, basically. And then anybody else who's come here and just because they got their ducks in a row for their papers doesn't mean you get to stay if you're found to be stealing from Americans, which I like that. Let's go. I hope that passes. ICE agent who shot Renee Good suffered internal bleeding, officials say. So all of the retards, he didn't need to shoot. She was just this mom and she was trying to turn the car on. No, she wasn't. She was trained to oppose ICE. She was there with a nefarious agenda. She chose to hit him with her car. She turned her car into a potential murder weapon, and so he had to take the shot. Or, you know, it's like all these people that are mad. Now there's this kid without a mom. Yeah, because his mom did something to get herself killed. She shouldn't have done that, okay? I'm not happy for the kid. I'm not happy she's dead. But all of these people protesting, they just think the ICE agent should have died. He should have just let her finish the job. She already hit him. He's got internal bleeding. And he was supposed to just stand there and, I guess, get run over. That was the right thing to do? No. That's not the right thing to do. If you're going to turn your car into a murder weapon, you're going to get killed if someone's got a gun. So don't do that. Lesson learned there. Don't try to get in the way of ICE doing ICE's job. If you don't like it, go to therapy or something. Go to Canada where other liberals are also mad about everything. I don't know. Just you don't do that. That was a stupid thing to do. And there was a terrible consequence. It just is what it is. Elon Musk's baby mother, Ashley St. Clair, uploads a demonic picture of herself tied to a tree, comparing herself to a witch as she prepares to turn their child into a transgender monster. Mind you, the child is 1 year old. She is trying to gender transition a 1 year old. So Elon Musk is trying to get full custody, which he should if she's doing witchcraft and trying to transition a 1 year old. Not only should you be in like a psych ward, you should probably just be in prison because you're nuts. Christian Zionist. I love how they put, I used to love this account. I don't know what happened to it. I love how they put Zionist like it's meant to be derogatory. Christian Zionist Pastor John Hagee is warning Christians that hating Jews or attacking Israel is a sin and that God will hold you personally accountable. He says God will destroy anti-Semitic nations with his own hand, especially those in the Middle East. It's almost like the Bible actually says that word for word. You know, John Hagee didn't make that up. God did. America right now is flooded with anti-Semitism. It's everywhere. He's right. And I'm going to play the video because it's angering me that this account is trying to attack John Hagee, who's 100 times the person whoever's running this account is.
Now is flooded with anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is Jew hatred. It's in our government. It's in our Ivy League universities, which are swimming in a sewer of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism, my friend, is a sin. Sin damns the soul, and you will answer to God for it. The war described in Ezekiel 38:39 will be a Gog-Magog war. It will be a war very similar to the one that has started. It will be a war that continues and refuses to stop. It will be a war, Ezekiel says, where Russia, Iran, Turkey, and radical Islam will unite in a war against Israel. What's different about that than this one? I don't know. But it's going to be one just like this that gets this war going. The long story short is that God Almighty, the defender of Israel, will gather these historically anti-Semitic nations, and he's going to drag them to the hills of Israel. And listen to this. He's going to kill 5 out of 6 of them.
It's true.
You think God doesn't have a heartburn for anti-Semites? Payday someday. And I assure you, all of you people in the Middle East who are giving the Jewish people a lot of trouble, you're going to rue the day that you did this.
Amen.
You are going to rue the day that you did this.
See, I love the account's acting like it's like that's like a hit post on John Hagee, and yet nothing he said is wrong. If in that account, you know, they call out many of the right things, and yet you obviously don't know scripture, because that's all true. The book of Zechariah is pretty graphic about what's going to happen to the enemies of Israel, and God's going to be the one who does it. Their eyes are going to rot out of their heads, their skin going to rot off their bones. God's going to destroy the enemies of Israel when all nations are gathered against them. That's how it's going to go down. So for everybody who doesn't like that, take it up with God, because he said it. And you know, the funniest thing is they're like, it's people who think they're more moral than God. Well, how could God have anything to do with Israel? Look how godless they are. They don't want anything to do with Jesus. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they're literally not supposed to yet. It's a fulfillment of Bible prophecy, which is God's word. Who knows the end from the beginning? God said they're in a place right now. There's a partial hardening that's come upon them. They have not yet looked on him whom they have pierced and mourned as for an only child. They will one day realize there's going to come a point, which I think is going to be after the rapture, after the church is out of here. And it's going to be during the tribulation, or maybe at the very end of it. I don't know, where they're going to come to that realization, that revelation. This Jesus was in fact our Messiah all along, and they're going to mourn over him. And then it says all Israel will be saved. So the fact that people are saying there's no way Israel is the same Israel of the Bible because they don't want anything to do with God right now. Yeah, that's literally what the Bible says. They are in a position of hardening right now. They've been hardened. They are not accepting right now. Some Jews have gotten saved. Jews can get saved. I'm talking about as a whole, the nation of Israel, the people of Israel, who God made an everlasting covenant with. Their time has not come yet. So they're not, why would you expect, who expects them to be Christians? We don't. That if they were suddenly all of them Christians and accepting Christ, then I would be like, there's got to be another Israel out there, because now they don't fit what Bible prophecy said. Or somehow the partial hardening already lifted. There wasn't a rapture, or not yet. I mean, it would throw everything off. So back to John Hagee. That's all true. There are tons of prophecies throughout the Bible about the regathering of Israel, about God fighting for them, about God destroying their enemies. And also, if you don't like the corruption that's there now, because I understand there's corruption, I understand there's a deep state. I get that. They've got basically what we have here with our deep state. But read the Bible. Were they ever governed by godly people throughout the Old Testament? More often than not, no. Judah had some godly leaders, but more often than not, Israel had one evil king after another. So the fact that you're going to act like you're so moral and outraged by whatever leadership Israel may have now, and they're not godly, read the Bible and tell me how godly those kings were. And yet, did God ever say, you know what? Yeah, I've actually had it. I've had it with these people. They don't listen. They keep turning away. They keep going after other gods. They're doing all of these evil things. I'm breaking covenant because I'm done. No, that would make God unfaithful, which would make him a liar, which would mean you can't trust anything he ever said. So that's actually very bad news. If you're a Christian, if God doesn't keep his promises to Israel, then you can't trust him to keep his promises to you. And now the entire Bible's out. So that's how this whole misunderstanding of Israel is creating like a shaky foundation for people's faith, because like it or not, it's the same God. It's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's the God of Zion, the God of Israel. It's the same God. And yet Israel just isn't there yet, but they will get there, the Bible promises. So regardless of what's going on now, just hang tight. God knows the end from the beginning. He saw all of this. He spoke it. It's all going to come down and take form exactly the way that the Bible says. So just relax. So if that makes you a Zionist to support who God still supports, then call me a Zionist. I don't care. Zionism, all that is you believe Israel has a right to exist. I don't know why it's got such a negative connotation to it, but I guess, again, we're so close to the end that this hatred for Israel makes sense if you consider the prophetic timeline. Because again, if all nations are going to gather against Israel, which the Bible promises is going to happen, you're going to have to see this hatred start to boil, start to build, start to come from here and here and here. It's got to come from everywhere. So this is just further evidence that we're very near the end of all things. So it's you know, it makes me mad, but at the same time, I can't be mad because I'm watching people unknowingly take part in fulfilling Bible prophecy, and they don't even know they're doing it. It's just a shame when Christians don't understand, because they should. If we're reading the same Bible, you should understand the importance of Israel, and it stresses me out that you don't. So stop following people like Tucker or Candace and read the Bible for yourself. And the thing is, you can use AI to do a study like that. Tell me all the verses that promise the redemption of Israel. And it'll spit out a long list, because there's a bunch of them there. You can educate yourself in a matter of minutes. There's no excuse to be that like uneducated as a Christian about the subject of Israel. It's either like you're really dumb, or you just have like some kind of personal, you just don't want it to be true, so you'll avoid it altogether, which is stupid. Next. If you posted nonstop about Gaza, but haven't posted anything about Iran, you're not an activist. You just hate Jews. But we already knew this. That's true. All of the people who were screaming free Palestine should be up in arms over what the death cult of Iranian leadership, what they've been doing to their own people. You should be outraged. And yet I haven't heard a peep from any of those people. The only ones who care about the Iranian people are conservatives for some reason. And even Jewish people, because they're like, they understand the problem isn't the Persian people. The problem is their death cult leadership. So that regime needs to go. And praise God, it is on its way out. And those people are going to be liberated in Jesus' name. Next. Trump when he sees the haters. This is hilarious. The thing is, I'm a Browns fan, and this happened during a Browns game, and yet I thought it was hilarious then. This is great, and this is Trump. It's so It's funny because of what Trump did to that Ford factory worker or whatever, but I don't remember any Browns fans being mad about that. I think we all thought it was hilarious. I can't remember whether we won that game or not. Since it's the Browns, I'm assuming we lost. But I think that was just several years ago, and it was hilarious. I don't know who that guy is, but thank you for the laughs. Next. Researchers have found evidence that Mount Everest's highest point was once underwater. I thought this was old news. They have found marine fossils, fossilized fish and things, thousands and thousands and thousands of feet above sea level, which we Bible believers know that is further evidence the great flood, the massive deluge, in fact, was real. It covered the whole earth. And so I thought, that was old news at this point. I don't know what researchers are just now finding out. You guys are late to the game, but we're glad to have you. Next. Never before seen footage of an uncontacted Amazonian tribe has been released by author Paul Rosoli on Lex Fridman's show. The tribe was seen lowering their weapons before they were given a canoe of food. Rosoli is a conservationist, who has reportedly spent 2 decades working in the Amazon. I don't know how he didn't get killed in 20 years because these people look completely tribal. God bless them. But I didn't know anybody was still on Earth in 2026 and was this untouched by civilization. Like this is like unreal.
He's laying down his bow and arrow.
And now they're all standing in a relaxed.
Yeah.
And smiling? Are they smiling?
Smiles come at some point. I would say that one of these guys seemed like in a leadership position. He did most of the talking.
Did you have a sense of hierarchy at all? Like the boss?
Again, there was just these two dominant guys, and like this guy and one other guy who looked almost like him, like his brother.
Yeah.
Gesturing.
Wonder how they talk.
Wow.
But see, even that, as he's pointing, we're
Yeah.
going, what are you pointing at?
This is like a Johnny Quest episode.
You guys are nuts. You guys are nuts. Oh.
You see, as though they're rushing in, there's this desperation. They're hungry. We had a great moment where we'd given them the plantains, we'd given them the bananas, and he'd said, "Look, that's it." He said, "We've given you what you asked for. You asked for bananas. We don't cut the trees here. All of us here are not tree cutters. We're indigenous people." And he couldn't explain who the hell we were, but they were like, "We don't cut the trees. We're not the loggers." And they're like, "Okay." So then at some point, Ignacio went out and like sort of like started, he'd go like this and they'd go like this, and he like danced a little bit, they danced a little bit, and then there was this very human moment of just sort of joking.
So even Ignacio warmed up.
Even Ignacio warmed up once he realized it didn't seem like anyone was going to die that day. Things did calm down. It was a false sense of security. Here, I'll show you. There's a couple more things that are relevant here, though. Yeah, this is just them interacting with the boat.
This is
Shark
truly incredible.
nudity.
Man.
But then they don't have boats.
can
They
see
don't have
buttons.
stone tools. They don't. Imagine
is-
if you showed them ice. They wouldn't.
This is historic.
I mean, you hear of Percy Fawcett encountering the tribes. We've heard of anecdotal accounts of the tribes. This is the first time that the tribes have been filmed. That we can hear their voices, that there's a documented interaction happening. I mean, now, look how comfortable he's getting. He's so close. They asked him for his shirt. He gave his shirt.
This is incredible.
They asked him for his pants. He gave his pants. He was in his underwear.
Yep.
You see the shirt that's over his shoulder. Ignacio took off his Jungle Keeper shirt and threw it to the anthropologist, and then the anthropologist walked it off and threw it to them. So over the shoulder of that uncontacted naked warrior is a Jungle Keeper shirt with the logo showing. So they're like
That's
their
great.
second shirt.
You just upgraded that guy's status in the tribe.
Okay. I'm just like shocked that it's 2026 and that there is anybody on planet Earth still living like that. Like, again, if you remember the old school Johnny Quest cartoons from like the 60s, and they encountered different tribal people, depending on where they went, it could have been Indonesia or somewhere else. And they're like that, like barely wearing anything, like, uncivilized. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but like completely devoid of civilization the way that we know it. I know it's the Amazon's a big place, it's dense, I get that, but like if you can interact, which they can, it just amazes me that at this point in time in 2026 someone else hasn't interacted with them to the extent that they've gotten things to them other than bananas. And I mean, like, no one was able to go in and set up electricity or any kind of basic things that would help. I don't know. That just blows my mind that's a thing. And it makes me wonder if there's anywhere else on planet Earth where there are people like that besides the Amazon. Who knows? Because the Earth, it's a huge place, but I don't, it seems like we've kind of been everywhere, but at the same time, maybe not. What if there is a place where two people got in Two people got in through some kind of dense foliage and possibly got in, and then they just stayed there and they had babies, and everyone's been living in there, and then it grew over, and now no one can get in, and there might be other people we don't know about. I don't know. I hope someone gets the gospel to them, to be honest. That's what you ought to do. Take them bananas and then get the gospel in there. It's gotta reach the entire world before the end, right? So we gotta get into the Amazon and make sure somehow. I don't know what the heck they speak for language. God knows. God can get through. Next. New, Riley Gaines says she had to wrap her 3-month-old baby in a bulletproof blanket because of the threats against her. This is more love and tolerance from the left, guys. Gaines spoke outside the Supreme Court on Tuesday in defense of women's sports. You have a 3-month-old baby that you have to wrap in a bulletproof blanket because of the threats that were present there. They're giving the middle finger to my little baby girl again, who you have to wrap in like a little bulletproof vest. That is ridiculous, but that's, again, there's the political violence coming from the left is just not surprising because they're actually insane and evil. Next. Senator John Fetterman, the only cool Democrat, delivers a message that every single one of his Democrat colleagues should hear. Round up all criminals, deport them, they have to go. As a Democrat, it should not be unreasonable to want to secure our border. It's common sense. See, if all Democrats were just like that, I wouldn't even have a problem with Democrats. I would be different on some issues because I'll never support abortion or, some of the other things that would make people vote blue. I'd have differences on certain issues, but like, it should be common sense. Like he said, you should want a secure and safe and thriving country. You should be anti-crime. Regardless of your political affiliation, you should be against crime. And yet, the Democrats and the left has proven that they're all of a sudden, DC, when Trump sent in the National Guard, all of a sudden they were pro-crime. Oh, you're trying to bring down the murder rate? We hate that you're sending troops in there. We'll just let the murder rate continue. Okay. You've defended that. Narco-terrorists. All of a sudden, no, stop blowing up the narco-terrorists. Just let them bring the drugs into the country. Okay. How dare you, Trump? Defending that. Now they're defending the, illegal immigrants, again, many of which have been violent offenders on multiple occasions. So you're literally defending all the wrong things. Why? You can be a Democrat on certain issues and still have common sense and common decency and a sense of some lawfulness, if that's a word, and yet they don't have it. It's lawlessness is what they have because it's a spirit, which is why there's no common sense to it. It's all just like demonic hysteria over everything all the time. So God bless John Fetterman. Next. Remember the Santa Ynez Reservoir, I don't know how to say that just happened to be empty during the raging Palisades fire. Yes, the same one Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass claimed was full, those liars. A year later, it's still empty. Not a single drop. They want this to happen again. Security's been posted to keep the public from seeing the truth. Why not just fill it with water unless you literally want stuff to be on fire again? Good thing we brought a drone. Benny Johnson, I think he just came back from California, and Gavin Newsom has been like tweeting at him. He's been super upset because now that Nick Shirley did the Lord's work and uncovered all that fraud in Minnesota, now they're starting to go into other states and uncover fraud there as well. And obviously Gavin Newsom doesn't like that. So he's been freaking out all week while Benny Johnson's been uncovering stuff. Benny Johnson has been, in the last year, he came on as one of the most likable conservatives, and I didn't really respect him before. He never really gave me a good reason. I just kind of was like, meh. But with the way, ever since Charlie got shot, Benny Johnson has been great. So I think that kind of lit a fire under him in a different kind of way. Next. America needs Greenland. China or Russia will occupy it if we don't. So what do we got here? Polymarket, 25% chance the U.S. will acquire Greenland in 2026. I bet these numbers are gonna bump up because I think it's gonna happen. Again, hope it happens peacefully, but I do think it's gonna happen, and I hope it does. Next. Hillary and Bill Clinton face contempt of Congress over refusing to testify over Epstein ties. Imagine that. Oversight Chair Comer, Hillary joined her husband in defying a subpoena. We're going to hold both in criminal contempt of Congress. Guilty. I'm telling you, if there is justice, I don't even really care about Bill that much. He's like one sour Skittle away from death anyway. Hillary Clinton, if there's justice for Hillary Clinton, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw a party. I don't even know. She is like the main person I have been like hoping and praying would get taken down. I just want to see justice served when it comes to her. So this is a good thing. Again, praying for justice this year, and I think we're going to see it. So this is probably the closest we've ever gotten when it comes to that family. So we'll keep an eye on this situation. From Jonathan Kahn, this report says 41% of Netflix shows for children contain LGBTQ plus content in 2025. Yeah, guys, they're after your kids. Netflix is probably the gayest platform there is, and it's amazing how they intentionally have to just put it in kids shows because they're trying to corrupt an entire generation. What's funny, I don't know what the generation is called that's under Gen Z, but this whole gay propaganda and everything they tried has backfired massively in Gen Z. They were the gayest generation, and now they're in church and buying Bibles more than any other generation. So that's got to be a giant slap in the devil's face. So can't wait to see it happen for the next generation as well. Next. Almost done. U-turn. Starmer ditches horrible policies. Failing Prime Minister abandons mandatory digital ID. Ending jury trial for minor offenses. Under 16 social media ban and attack on pubs. Everybody hates him in the UK, so I think he's probably realizing it's a bit too early. I understand the UK is on the brink of collapse, but I do think they're going to have one last shot at it. Might be after King Charles dies, and someone else is installed. But the fact that he did a U-turn on all of that stuff tells me you were a little bit ahead of your time. Yes, the mark of the beast is coming. Yes, digital ID, AI, I'm sure all of it, vaccines, all of it's going to contribute. And honestly, they might even now, because we need ICE to be doing what ICE is doing, they may, whoever gets in power later may, if ICE is still, around everywhere, weaponize ICE and use that to establish control and order. Right now, they're doing a good thing, but we're so close to the end that this stuff does the groundwork has to be laid. So if it does happen under the Trump administration or under conservative leadership, it has to happen because of the time that it is, regardless of who's in the White House. So we'll see, but I think the UK got a little bit. A little step ahead of where we're at, because there's pushback, because the people in the UK are tired of the rape and the onslaught of Islam that no one's doing anything about, and they're starting to push back. So I think they're going to have one last run, and then that's probably going to be it. Next. ICE agents arrested 3 employees at a Mexican restaurant after stopping there for lunch. I can imagine them being like, that was a great burrito. All right, now I know you're here illegally. Let's go. Probably waited until the end of their meal to go ahead and start snatching the stuff. I'm sorry. I don't know if that should be as funny as it is, but it is. Because I'm just imagining that's how it went down. Next, the Minneapolis City Attorney's Office is rolling out therapy goats and a healing circle for city employees feeling stressed over ICE. Okay. I'm obviously not an evolutionist. Charles Darwin was an idiot. Darwinism, evolution is retarded. However, I don't entirely disagree with survival of the fittest. And in this case, you would think survival of the fittest would have kicked in if there was any truth to it. And people who need a therapy goat or a healing circle would be automatically disqualified from having a job, because I don't think you would be mentally stable enough to get out of bed, to know to brush your teeth, to learn how to drive a car and go work a job. I don't know how you could be so unstable and be able to hold a job. Okay. It doesn't make sense. What in the world is a therapy goat? I like goats. They're great. I like goats a lot, but I don't need a therapy goat. And I don't know what the devil a healing circle is, but that sounds kind of a cult. That actually almost reminds me of what all those psychos were doing in Chicago. And I don't even remember what specifically triggered it, but there was like a group of people who don't know each other from Adam that were in Chicago, and they were all leaning over a railing and screaming with each other because they're like, this is our way. I think it was just because of Trump. This is our way of dealing with Trump. We just got together in a group and we're screaming in the city to feel better. Okay. I don't know how you've managed to stay alive this long. You would think you would have freaked out over a minor inconvenience and killed yourself, or I don't know. Like Minnesota needs gutted. It needs gutted. I know Trump said he doesn't necessarily think that he needs to, use the Insurrection Act or whatever. Insurrection Act? Yeah. I would. If I were him, I would just look at what they're doing. You guys have healing circles and therapy goats. Okay, it's time to just clean the place out and start over. I would do it. Plus, the fact that they're so unhinged and they think that they can just attack federal law enforcement officers, I would send in the military and put a stop to it if it were me. You're going to have some collateral damage, but I think it has to be done. You got to just rip off the Band-Aid because they're unraveling further. Almost done with the news. The system has now completely fallen due to the Indian invasion. Now male college graduates are just as likely to be unemployed as people who never went. I've been saying it for years. College is a scam. If I could go uneducate myself and give back my degrees, well, I would keep the broadcasting one. That actually was helpful because it was more like trade school. But college, I don't need a bachelor's degree. Most people don't need one. I understand if you're going to be a surgeon, you need some education for that. You want your lawyer to know what they're talking about. So there are certain things that do require some kind of higher education, but by and large, it is a big fat scam. And if you didn't go to college, God bless you, because you must have known something the rest of us were too stupid to know at the time. It's certainly not an indication of intelligence to have a college degree. Any idiot can do it. And it's also very easy to cheat now. So all you do is you go to a leftist indoctrination camp, you waste a bunch of money, and then you can't find a job that will pay enough to pay back all the loans that you took out. So don't go to college. I would do a trade or start a business. You can figure out something to avoid that mess. Next. Twilight Zone alert from Alex Jones. Candace Owens says Charlie Kirk was U.S. government-sponsored time traveler, and she is a space alien. Okay, Candace. In this report, Alex Jones asks his supporters to pray for Candace Owens, and Jones goes on to ask her family to please intervene now before more damage is done. I have been saying this for months. Okay. Candace was spewing so many insane, made-up things with no evidence that I knew in order that if she's going to keep this going, she's just going to have to keep getting more insane, because everything she presented didn't go anywhere or it got debunked. So you have to keep making things up to just keep it going. Or the alternative is to like fake your own death. You could disappear from the public spotlight, or you could just unravel further. And that's what she's doing, is she just continues to get more and more insane. I'm almost at the point I'm starting to feel bad for her. For the longest time, I didn't, because she did this to herself. She wanted to curse. I think it started with cursing Israel. I really do. Same thing happened to Kanye West. You watch that, people do that, and that's the beginning of their mental undoing, because what the Bible says is true concerning blessing and cursing. It's true. And so I didn't feel bad, because like, you did this to yourself and you claim to be a Christian, so you ought to know better. Now, though, I feel the slightest tinge of sympathy, because she's like actually insane now. Rather than just being a hater, she's like crazy. She was acting crazy, and now she like is crazy, I think. So I don't quite feel bad, but almost I'm starting to soften a little bit. I still haven't felt to pray for her. If I feel it, I will. Absolutely will. But right now, I'm just kind of like, well, it's called reaping and sowing, Candace. You can stop at any time. Reporter, did Arab and Israeli officials convince you not to strike Iran? Trump, nobody convinced me. I convinced myself. You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings. That had a big impact. Yeah, all the people that think Trump is under the thumb of Netanyahu, he's been controlled by Israel, you're a stupid person. Trump is not under anybody's thumb. I bet Melania can't even control him. Trump does what Trump wants, and nobody is going to bully that man or push him around. That's for sure. Nobody. But I love the alpha male personality, because even other world leaders who are normally the alpha in the room are taking a step back now that Daddy Trump is back in office, because they're like, this guy will drop nukes and sleep like a baby. He doesn't care. I'm outmatched, so I'm going to have to play nice until somebody else is in office, because this guy isn't. If he says something, I'd better go along with it. It's a sign of strength and respect. Whether people like him or not, they respect him, and there's some fear there as well, because they're like, he really will take me out if I cross a line. Even terrorists understand that. So anyway, thankful for him. Next, Mark Carney talking in China. I believe the progress we have made and the partnership sets us up well for the New World Order. That's great. Just go ahead and roll out the Antichrist system there, Mark Carney, you retard, as you run Canada into the ground. If Canada wants to have one last crack at it, I think some good things have been happening in Canada, but Carney's probably got to go. He actually might be worse than Trudeau, and that's really saying something. Nick Fuentes says Jeffrey Epstein was not a pedophile, stating that Epstein's victims were between 14 and 17 years old, and that in his view, this does not qualify as pedophilia. Spoken like a... I can't even call him a pedophile, because I feel like he's like a virgin and might be gay. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gay. But just because someone is 14, just because someone is 17 doesn't make it not pedophilia. So the fact that you're covering for a pedophile kind of makes you one of the worst people walking the planet, which we already knew. He says that after age 14, individuals are biologically past sexual maturity. Oh, okay. So that's basically the same logic that they use in Sharia law. They think it's okay to take a child as their wife, because as long as they are capable of getting pregnant, they consider them not a child anymore. So it's probably just a matter of time before Fuentes comes out and says he likes Sharia law. Basically the same thing Tucker Carlson is saying. Fuentes also says the concept of an age of consent is relatively new, claiming it was pushed by feminists about 30 years ago. So he thinks there should be no such thing as an age of consent. Listen, I'm no feminist. If anything, I'm an opposite. I'm an anti-feminist. I can't stand feminism. But there's nothing wrong and there's nothing feminist about consent, because there is a fine line between consent and just rape, which you would think every person with, a conscience would agree that rape is wrong. You would think. But Fuentes is, like I said, one of the worst people out there. So I don't really expect him to have much of a conscience. What I don't know is why he has a platform. I don't know why anybody is propping him up and allowing him to have airtime, because he sucks. And I hate that he's affiliated with the right, because there's like nothing that normal conservatives have in common with him. He is a terrible person. Probably a plant to try to divide the right from the inside, much like Tucker Carlson, much like Candace Owens, much like MTG and all the others, even Thomas Massey, and even, I don't know what happened to Rand Paul, like during COVID was awesome. He was like the only one reading everything they were trying to push through. The one thing I still respect about him is his commitment to see little Tony Fauci taken down. That's the only redeeming quality Rand Paul has left. Other than that, he never helps the conservatives. He won't vote. Same with Thomas Massey. They will, like, just be a Democrat then. If you're never going to help, just be a Democrat. So it's frustrating to see that, because I think that's one edge the left does have. The Democrats typically back each other and conservatives don't. They have divisive little things. You don't have to agree with everything, but you should maybe be thankful, because the administration that you have is a godsend, especially when you consider what the alternative would have been. So how about just helping for once? Last thing, and this is funny that I missed this phone call. Look at that missed call I got several days ago. Quran educator. I'm so mad I missed it. I am so mad I missed that phone call. I wish I had answered, because if it had been a Muslim trying to talk to me about the Quran, I missed an opportunity to verbally assault them. It would have been fun. And I missed that phone call. But why the heck am I getting a phone call from a Quran educator? I don't want to hear about the Quran. All right, I'm going to wrap up part 1. I'm going to pop these up before I leave. These are the ways to contact. Amber Alert Podcast should be live on Instagram, X, and Rumble right now. And it will auto post once I end this live stream. I will put it on Substack, YouTube, and then I'll do audio only on Spotify. Facebook and X will just have a link or something. Actually, I don't even think I put the last one on Facebook. That's a problem. Anyway, there's my email address if you would need to contact me for anything. I'll probably not get this done until late tonight, because it's already 9 o'clock and I still have parts 2 and 3 to do. That's fine. And then here are the ways to support Amber Alert Podcast if you would like to. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Most people use PayPal, but it does not matter. Any one of them will work. The email address under PayPal there, podcast.amberalert@gmail.com, is the same one where you can contact me. So if you have a business, you want to be a sponsor, anything like that of that sort, you can email me. We can work out the details. Or you can send me a DM on any one of those platforms. I'm not on TikTok. I technically have an account, but I don't get on there. So that's not the way to find me. So as I stated when I started this, guys, that was part 1 of episode 92. So what I'm going to do is I'm ending this live stream. Okay. And then we're going to have about a 10-minute break. I'm going to come back on a new live stream, and we're going to start part 2. And what I want to talk about in part 2 is the subject of dragons. And I know that sounds insane, but you gotta hang with me, because I'm going somewhere with it. And I have the Bible. I have some other things I want to talk about. So we're going to get into that subject here in about 10 minutes. So close this with me, and then we'll come back in 10 minutes for part 2. All right. I will see you there.